Hey guys, welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be doing what if Russia was the strongest country in the world. So, they're stronger than the US. US has dropped down to number 2, while China has dropped down to number 3. So, Russia is now the strongest country in the world, and we will see how that affects the world. So, first things first, with a lot of more pressure from the on NATO, we're going to have probably NATO either breaking up or like completely digging down. But Russia is going to annex um, Belarus, which is going because Belarus, there's nothing really stopping them anymore from just joining Russia, with Russia being the strongest country now. Also, Belarus is really scared of Russia, so yeah. But now we're gonna have Russia declaring war on Ukraine, and obviously we're just gonna say that they didn't declare war on Ukraine in the first place. But we're going to have Russia not being able to capture Kiev with the mass support from NATO still happening. But they are going to be they're going to be a lot more successful during the whole invasion and capturing more land. So, meanwhile, this is going on. We're going to have Russia even becoming, well, they're probably either going to become really strong, much stronger, or they're going to be saying, oh, they're not that strong, they're not that strong. But in all in reality, Russia's probably getting stronger during this war because, well, it's only been like a day, and this is how much they've already taken. Even with the mass support from NATO going into Ukraine, and well, a lot of Russian sweeping forces come down, capturing a major city right here. I'm pretty sure it is, and uh, just pushing down, meeting up with Moldova and everything. Wait, hold up, I gotta fix that. Yeah, they meet up with Moldova, so and finish off the rest of that part of Ukraine. So now pretty much Ukraine is being swept up in like a week, and this is not looking good for the USA because well now you have the USA realizing that they are not able to fight off Russia anymore, and with China as their ally, they know that they're just it's over. The Eastern powers, I guess, have won because the USA is Western. I think. Wait, yeah. So they're Eastern. So yeah, but finally that surrenders. Meanwhile, Russia uses their new Belarusian front by Kiev to capture it, and the troops that were defending it on the main front line with Russia just got completely encircled, and they are now either told to surrender or fight to the death. And well, most of them fight to the death, while the rest of them surrender. And really, Russia just got like all of this land in like a week or two. So now Russia, they now know to like it does show that Russia is going to be fortifying. Meanwhile, down here in Georgia, there's nothing really stopping Russia from just uh, like boop. So yeah, that happens like immediately. So with Russia now having Georgia, Ukraine, and Belarus under their belt, no one really knows what's going to be happening next. Um, but something that does happen is pretty much the same thing over here in Moldova, but NATO is going to be sending like they already have troops in Moldova, but Russia also has troops in Moldova technically as well. They have them in this part of Moldova, which is like the parts where they still say like the Soviet Union's around, you know. So yeah, they have troops there already, and NATO also has troops in Moldova already. But still, Russia is the strongest country in the world now, so they do moving to Moldova quickly. And once it looks like this, they just surrender. Really, no choice. But now, a lot of European countries are starting to realize that NATO might not be able to protect them, so they are reaching out to any like country out there. NATO is. Like they're just trying to get it, like just trying to save the countries. But now, NATO troops that have been patrolling like the border between the Baltic nations and Russia, they have seen like lots of Russian troops mobilizing over Lithuania, and same with Estonia. So now Russia and Estonia are like actually having a face off pretty much right now. But Estonia goes ahead and declares war on Russia, and Russia's like, "What was your plan here?" And Russia completely steamrolls them. And well, now NATO's like, "What do we do?" And before they can even think about it, Estonia's signing a peace treaty, and they're now part of Russia. So the whole thing's just a big, quick swoosh. In a matter of a day, Estonia's gone, and Russia has pretty much the rest of the Baltic nations encircled. And this is not a Russian empire. This is what if Russia was the strongest country. And I could see this happening. Maybe not the Estonia thing. That's not too realistic. But with the Belarus and Ukrainian thing and the Moldovan thing, oh yeah, I can see that happening. But finally, this does induce, like this isn't them declaring war, but it is the NATO finally breaking apart because they can no longer handle like the stress from Russia. And there was a summit like yesterday or a couple days ago. I don't know. Whenever I'm posting it, it was like a couple days ago, I think. And well, these European nations, they want to just stick with their plan. Like they don't. Well, no, they don't want to stick with the plan anymore. They want to raise it to 10% GDP. And well, they're like most of these European nations are like, we can't do this. So NATO now splits into two parts. I don't know. Actually, I think that they might be in there. I know that you are. Greece is for sure. And well, Turkey, they just end up leaving the NATO fully, and same with some other European countries in the Baltics. So now NATO is splitting to two, and they're like, oh no. Meanwhile, the U.S. also kind of splits into two, because like obviously it's not a civil war, but like this part of the USA, the northern part supports the green. So yeah, here, let me just show you. So this part is green. Meanwhile, also Alaska's green. Meanwhile, wouldn't these guys be blue? Yeah, these guys would be blue. Yeah, so they would be blue. Probably as well as Texas. Texas is also blue. So, yeah, Texas is blue. Surprisingly, Florida is also blue. So Florida's blue. But the rest of the country is green. They are saying we do not want to spend any more money on our military. We already have more than enough. And well, yeah, that does kind of break the USA up. But they're not going into a civil war anytime soon. Okay, so I already messed up my map. That's fantastic. Actually, wait, maybe not. Wait, hold up. Hold up. I can save it, guys. Okay, wait, hold up. Let me get locked in, guys. Okay, so my map's cooked. Actually, no, it's not that bad. Okay, yeah, there we go. It's not that bad. But meanwhile, Canada does actually end up deciding to join the green. Oh, and I forgot to color that in. Okay, well, it's fine. So yeah, pretty much Canada and the USA, they end up deciding to leave NATO because of the instability, which is not good at all. I guess you can say, because it's not good. So, yeah. But finally, Um, the Baltic nations and these two and the last two countries do decide a side. They decide to join the blue, and same with these. And while technically a war does break out a little bit, and it's between like the French and the Germans and the Czechs and the Poles. So the alliance is now officially broken up with NATO under too much pressure. Um, yeah, it was too much. So you do have the war, and actually, they does stop pretty fast because well, this could lead into another world war. But the German troops, they end up becoming a little stubborn, and they decide not to leave, uh, like some lands. So like this part of Czechia, they decide not to leave. This land's going to be staying with Germany, they say. But Poland, the German military is not going to be so nice. Actually, no, I do not like that border between Czechia and Germany. Oh my gosh, that was not a good border. The Germans are just going to be taking a little bit. And then, like, right up there. So, yeah, the Germans, they take only a little bit of land from Czechia. Because, well, they really did not want to invade Czechia, but Czechia did kind of, like, say, hey, if you invade Poland, then you're going to have to invade me as well. Don't know why you would say that. Maybe because they thought the rest of the alliance was going to come and help you. Meanwhile, it didn't. Because, well, the Blue Alliance is obviously stronger with its raising its military budget by a whole bunch already. So, now, the whole like NATO's definitely officially over. Like it's done for, and Russia knows that. All of the NATO members know that, but some countries do decide to try and kind of join it because they are scared of Russia. Which are these nations? All of it. So yeah, but so yeah, pretty much all of the nations they end up joining it, but Czechia and Poland, they are a different story. But Poland, they're technically not over with this war. They're still at war with Germany, but they declare war on Lithuania, just trying to like capture some land. So the land that they lose from Germany, they will not end up like completely like having a downfall. So they are able to take Lithuania and most of Latvia, even though they said that they weren't going to go after Latvia, and like a couple days later they do. But then this does lead to Lithuania having to leave NATO. So the Polish troops up here just got encircled, and these troops they just completely abandon Poland. That's what I'm saying. And Lithuania also has to abandon the NATO because they're just controlled by Polish troops now. So Germany, they are also going to take. They're not going to take some land from Poland. And well, NATO knows, like the rest of NATO, like new NATO, I guess you can say, knows that no matter what happens, like new NATO knows that it's gonna be like they're cooked. Like new NATO knows that they're cooked, and they're gonna use Poland as a buffer state, so they're gonna be a protectorate. But what Lithuania and Latvia is now, it's really weird because what they are now is they are unaligned but aligned with the blue with NATO. So what ends up happening is well Russia declares war on them, trying to see what would happen if NATO just tells them to leave or if we'll get invaded. Well, nothing happens until they realize that there's a lot of U.S. troops in a couple pockets and actually by a lot I mean like more than usual. And they're shooting at us. Does that mean we're at war? Nope. These are not U.S. troops. These are Polish troops, and Poland's just using like all the U.S. stuff that they had. So, um, Poland's at war with them, but not really. So it's kind of it's weird. The whole thing's weird. So, yeah. But eventually, this pocket falls, and honestly, the Lithuania and Latvia just decide to join Russia. They know what Russia's after, and they're ready to appease Russia. But instead of giving like Russia just the easy pass, they now say whoever wants to join NATO can join NATO. And well, the reason why is because they are terrified of Russia now. Because Russia has now become like stronger than they were before at the beginning of the video, and everyone's like, "Oh no, we are cooked." But finally, Czechia is still not welcomed into the NATO again. So what ends up happening is Russia does make their own alliance, trying to fight back the just trying to fight back NATO. Well, that's gonna go not greatly for them. Iran's gonna join this. Yeah, we're just not gonna get into that right now. The big mess that's going on right here. We don't. This we do not talk about. No, no, we do not talk about that. No mess here. Nothing happening. Okay. This universe, nothing is happening. Also, China and North Korea decides to join. Meanwhile, Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan decide to join this alliance. And well, now it's kind of like, what's going on here? Pakistan joins because Iran, just to meet up with Iran through China. India does end up joining the NATO, and Russia is technically still outnumbered by a long shot. And finally, the USA and Canada do decide to join back into NATO. Because at the end of the day, they are still close. Like, they were probably going to be like Poland, a protectorate, or protecting. So, meh. So that whole mess with NATO, they did collapse. I believe they lost maybe 1 or 2 members, but they were minor. And, well, Iceland decides to join. This is a game changer, guys. But finally, the first war does break out, and it is between... The war breaks out between North and South Korea. And, well, there's, like, a lot of troops here. I'm saying that now. Like, there's like, too many troops here. And surprisingly, they're Russian, you know? And, well, Russian troops marching to Seoul in the first... Actually, wait, hold up. They can't march into Seoul. I'm sorry. I gotta protect Seoul. This video, guys, I'm usually not nice to South Korea in these videos, but I gotta protect Seoul for this one time. This one time, I gotta protect Seoul. But, like, everything else can, like, be bombed and everything. But North Korea and Russia both threaten Japan with nukes, and they're like, come on, bring it on. And, well, they drop a warning. Close to Tokyo, but not too close. It's just a big bomb. It's like a big bomb. It's not a nuclear bomb, it's just a big bomb. But this quickly, like, it's not as any radiation or anything, so not a big deal. And, well, now at this point, over here in India, this northern part of India is very quick to fall under Chinese and Pakistani control. So good for China and Pakistan, I guess. But not good for them at the same time, I guess. I don't really know. I know Pakistan and China don't have the worst relations, but I do also know that they have this little claim over China. So in this timeline, we're just gonna like we're just, I'm like God in this timeline. I have like the power to do anything I want. So like right now, we'll just like this never happened. And yeah. So this northern part of India falls rather quickly, with Russian troops able to be there as well, and this southern part also falls. Meanwhile, the most Pakistani troops are in the mainland, just trying to hold off the Indian forces. Meanwhile, China is doing a lot of work over here in the east, taking a large portion of India, actually the parts where they claim, and that's gonna help the Chinese, I guess. Not really guess, but no, because yeah, good. You got everything that you really needed out of this war. Maybe you'll get more if you keep on doing good. But Iran and Turkey and Russia, they have their first actual border fight because the rest of NATO hasn't fully declared war on Russia yet, and same with the rest of the Russian alliance. So what is happening is uh, the battle of this river is like gonna be a hard battle because there's gonna be like surprisingly there's gonna be boats, Russian and Iranian and Turkish boats in this river fighting for it, and there's also gonna be like land battles. But technically, Russia is still winning this land battle somewhat. So our next country to join is Azerbaijan, but our next country was kind of invaded by both sides. So Iran was really quick. So yeah, Armenia they were like felt like that to the Russians, because here's the thing: Russia they did want Armenia, but they also wanted them as an ally. So what they did was they pretty much declared war on them, but now they're just like, hey, after this war, we're gonna annex you, but right now you're gonna fight for us. So yeah, good job. So that's what happens there. Meanwhile, over here in actually Europe, uh, since this was a surprise invasion by the red team, uh, Serbia they are gonna have the upper hand for the first little bit. Over here in Bulgaria and a little bit of Romania, pushing in, but not really able to make it much farther than that. And up in the north, they did get pushed in a little bit, but not too much. By not too much, I mean quite a bit. Definitely less land. I mean, less land than they've taken, but still a fair enough amount of land. So Russia is also now making an offensive into Poland. Poland's still technically not in NATO. They're more just a protective state by NATO. And will Russia win this war? Honestly, I would not know. I feel like maybe there's a slight chance with their allies, but I can see India getting rolled over. Um, Obviously, a lot of these things are unrealistic in this timeline. Um, NATO probably wouldn't collapse. I know that. But first off, Czechia is like very quick to fall, except for like a pocket right here, which is like surprisingly like holding out. And they're called the pocket of Czechs, or they're called the checkmate pocket, because they're gonna be like a game changer. But at the end of the day, Russia is outnumbered majorly here, as I've said multiple times. And with U.S. troops arriving on the border, it's going to look like the tide's going to be changing until Russia sends out the big boys. What I mean by big boys is the veterans. The veterans that are still fighting for Russia, and they send them into Turkey just to see how well they can still fight and like do this. These countries fought in Georgia and Ukraine and what was it called again? They also fought in Moldova. Yeah, pretty sure it is Moldova. I might be wrong. Don't if I'm wrong, correct me in the comments. But yeah. So now, this river has finally been captured, and these troops get sent out to Korea with well, not these troops, but like some of them do get sent out to Korea, just able to help out on the front line. But a lot of Russian troops are now being pulled off of the Indian border, which does help India push back a little bit. But Russia just reorganizes them to push into India a little better, which ends up leading India to pretty much collapse. Like their front line, India's over. As I said, I could not see India being able to defend themselves for much longer. With China, Pakistan, and Iran, old troops just going in there and flooding them with mass amount of troops, and with China finally being able to capture this land. India, they do decide to just retreat out of this land and just hold them right here at a much smaller choke point. And well, it works. China can't get through here, and India can loosen up so many troops. So finally, India is able to push back majorly in the south. Like, so much that they can reach the Pakistani border again, and they push them out of here. So, up in the north, though, it's not going so great for India either. And, well, they do get pushed in a little bit more, but still, India doing good. They're doing better now. But Russia, over here, they are starting to do a little too good for the U.S. taste. And, well, finally, U.S. troops have reached the front line, but not before Russian troops can march in to Bulgaria and now marching into the other side of Turkey. Very little parts of Turkey, but still marching into parts of Turkey. So, at the end of the day, that's not good. Um, Everyone knows that. We know that. And well, the USA, the USA definitely knows that. And they know that they're losing ground now, and they know that if this keeps going the way that it is, then they're going to lose the war. So Russia, they do keep on pushing into Romania for the first little bit until they realize that Serbia is about to collapse, and they say, "Okay, hey, we know there's like a lot of U.S. troops like starting to like really bash at your border now, so we're gonna go ahead and start making a spearhead towards your border. Yes, it might cost a lot of troops, but don't worry, we'll use my veterans and they'll like wipe out." And surprisingly, it goes well for them, and they are able to cut off Bulgaria and the rest of Romania, which with the capital, which is like right here, I believe, or it might be a little bit more north, maybe like right here. I don't even know. But they are pretty much cut off, except for Greece, because they do just send support up through here. But that is not going to be much more difficult with some Russian boats actually making it into not the Caspian. Oh, I know it. Okay, the Mediterranean. Yeah, like a couple Russian boats make it out there, but yeah. U.S. troops do reach the border, and obviously, they are able to push the Russians back. Obviously, Russia's still stronger, but the USA, they're like just throwing themselves at Russia. Meanwhile, Serbia is pushing to more because of the mass amounts of pressure from the USA and the reorganization of troops to complete that spearhead. but don't think it's quite over quite yet. Um, there are a couple strange countries like Turkey and what is it called again? And Hungary. They are both not totally. They don't hate Russia completely, so maybe I can see a couple pockets popping up, but they'd probably be taken out by the U.S. troops. But another place that the USA is not doing so hotting is actually Poland, because there is still a lot of Polish people hating uh, NATO troops, so they're not really welcome anywhere. Meanwhile, surprisingly, the Russians are welcome into some homes, and that's why they're able just to steamroll over this land. But once they start getting deeper into Poland, this is where I start meeting them fierce like fighters. But finally, the first NATO soldiers marching to um, the marching to Russia, and it is not hard because, well, like Russia doesn't really care about this land. It's Ukrainian land, and it's like dead out here. So, meh. Russia doesn't really care. But one place that they do care is over here in Korea. Um, yeah, Seoul isn't captured, but because like I can't really get them to be captured. Still, I have my reasons. Yeah, but eventually, the rest of Korea does fall except for Seoul, and Japan is like, no. Taiwan is also next to fall, so yeah. Don't know what will happen over there, but Russia is able to. Sorry, guys. Oh, dear Lord. I just sneezed. There we go. But Russia is able to push over into Finland and make quite the land grab in the first couple days of the Finland offensive. But Finland is not too short of itself either, and they are able to push up north. But Russia pretty much gave them this land, with Russia not caring at all. But one place that Russia does care is actually in Finland, and they make a very big push into Finland, taking out massive chunks of the Finland army, holding off. And, well, yeah. It's now looking like Russia gonna win this war 100%. And if they don't, they will still come into this war with more land than they came in with. Maybe up here in Finland. Who knows? But one place that they do know that the Russians are in now is Japan. Surprisingly, surprising the Japan people, Russia is able to make a very successful naval invasion in the northern parts of Japan. And once again, Russia does not find many like fighting faces. So, oh no, like they are welcome into country, like not country, but like homes. But finally, India, they peace out of the war. They're they're like, no, we're out. Next country out was was South Korea and Japan, and all of these nations, they are allowed out of the war. The only nations not allowed out of the war are Turkey, like all the European NATO members. And well, finally, one country decides to leave, but they do not have to lose anything. And best of all, they can even gain war if Russia can make a invasion into Canada. But Canada is still always welcome back in by NATO. But a lot of countries are leaving at this point because they can see what's happening here. But finally, another very, very sad day happens. Russia is able to take a German island, and they are able to take it fully. And they now know that the Russians are now in Heartland, Germany, and they are not getting kicked out anytime soon, especially with them now landing in the capital of Denmark as well, which wipes out the rest of Denmark. And they are now also in Sweden, and everything's now starting to turn bad for NATO. Germany is offered a way out of this war, but Germany says, no, I'm not going to betray my brethren. And, well, this is World War III. World War III would happen if Russia became the strongest country. I'm saying that now. But finally, American troops are able to do something other than just throw themselves at the border. They're able to kick them out of this part of Germany, which is really good. And, well, that's really it. Meanwhile, in Poland, Poland is finally able to... nope, that's not the color. Yeah, Poland is finally able to push out a little bit. Meanwhile, Russia has complete control over parts of Hungary and everything. Like, they got complete control over this part of Slovakia, and this part of Hungary, and even this part of Romania. So now you can see that this war is over, and the U.S. knows it. Romania knows it. Actually, Romania surrenders really quickly. They kick all of the troops out, so they were welcome to leave the war, but they do know that if NATO wins, then they're losing land to Russia either way, and NATO. We can see them getting split up into two pieces, this part becoming... Actually, no, probably only these two parts becoming a NATO puppet, and then the rest becoming just being absolutely demolished by the Russians. So, Bulgaria said, can we surrender? And the Russians and the Serbians said no. And they're like, what? So, yeah, they get taken out pretty quickly. And the last fighting Romanian troops, they also surrender, which now lead to the downfall of Bulgaria. And Greece also surrenders a couple of days after. So, now it's just Turkey. Oh, never mind. Turkey is kicked out of the European continent. And now, also, they are going to be... they're losing Constantinople completely. And now it looks like NATO has officially lost the war. And finally, Germany does take the way out of the war. They change sides. And, well, they take out all their troops of Czechia, all their troops out of Poland, and they are now told to just turn around and fight the people that they were just fighting with. And yes, was it sad? It was very sad, because the day that Germany joined the Russian side, the president stepped down and literally let a Russian soldier walk in the capital and tell him what's happening. And people were crying on the streets because, well, Germany, they didn't want to lose this war. They can't lose another world war at this point. And now, finally, Germany has meeting up with the Russian troops throughout Poland. Slovakia surrenders, Hungary surrenders, and the pocket of Serbia surrenders. There's no turning this around for NATO anymore. It's over. At this point, you either surrender or you're over for life. Greenland and Iceland, they leave. Greenland is now Denmark, still. But a little bit of hope happens. I'm kidding. They know that they've lost because, well, Germany declares war, and Germany and Russia declare war on Austria, and they quickly moved through, taking out Vienna in a matter of days. And well, really, the rest of it falls, and a offensive into Italy doesn't happening, with Slovenia also mostly collapsing, and yeah, it's just not looking good for NATO anymore. Most NATO countries are gone, and if you're not gone yet, you have a matter of weeks at this point. So, our next European country to leave this war is going to be Portugal and Spain. Spain and Portugal both realize that they feel like they do not need to be in this war anymore. But Italy does try leaving the war, but then a little Russian boat comes and lands in Rome and, well, the surrounding areas. So now everyone's like, okay, this is not fair. How are they doing this? And, well, the saddest day is when finally Italy surrenders. Old Italian troops are pulled off the front line. NATO troops in Italy are kicked out of Italy. And, well, it's now literally just the Western powers versus the rest of the world. Well, the World War. Finally, Turkey surrenders, and it is now shown that the war is over. The Benelux country surrenders, Norway surrenders, and then Sweden surrenders. Finland surrenders with the troops end up like taking 3 more days to fight. But our last country will not stop fighting. Well, our last 3 countries will not stop fighting because they have lost to France lost to Germany once, and well, they know how that went. But with all the Russian troops now focused on the European front line, and yes, they might be far from home, but they have reached Paris, and that was a massive boost for morale. And at this point, everyone's like, okay, it's over. Russia, you've won the war. Do you want to have peace talks? And they're like, no, we're making it. And they literally tell the U.S. that we're making it into your country before Christmas. It is December 20th. And guess what happens a day later? Long Island and New York City gets taken by German and Russian troops. The USA is like, how? How did you manage? And, well, with France finally deciding to surrender, they give an offer to Britain that they cannot refuse. They say, join us. You won't face any representation, anything, and we'll actually treat you like you've been fighting on our side the whole time. Actually, we'll let you literally just gain land for free. But finally, Canada also makes the same decision because they get the same offer. They are offered land in return for joining the Red Team country. Well, the Red Team. And the USA, it's now against everyone, against all of the Red Team. And actually, some surrendered. The Green country, they do have to go and fight their past allies. So, the USA, they are not the ones to surrender too easily. But finally, this is the first time the USA was forced to surrender. Russian and German and Canadian troops and British troops all marching to DC on the same day. It is now a remembered day, and it is a very sad day because, well, it is the day that the Russians won World War III. So, Canada gets, like, pretty much all of the United States, except for, like, little bits, like the southern parts. Like, they just, like, completely push the border down south. They push it down to there, and, brah, they push, oh my gosh, they push the border down to, like, here. Down to here, which was good, I guess. And then um, it ends up collapsing. So like they keep the same rock border over here. So Alaska does decide to actually like they say like no, we are not joining the Canadians no matter what. So yeah, but if Russia, I can see if the NATO probably did end up starting losing, like losing that hard and losing that fast, then they probably would have, like they no countries would have left, like they would have stuck around to the very end. But the USA has not been able to do what they promised to do and keep the country safe. So the USA is now diminished to its like half of itself. Britain had got the promised land of them, um, which is now not good because it's like France is very angry with Britain. Well, it's reasonable why they're very mad. But France is not really around anymore. It's more of Russian. How do you say France in Russian? That's what it's called now. And it's a world controlled by Russia at this point. Italy gets some land because, well, they're now just a Russian puppet. Uh, Surprisingly, Germany gets like a decent chunk out of Italy with like, so yeah, they're gaining a lot of land. So yeah, Germany now realizes that they are like that they did make the wrong decision because honestly, NATO probably could have won the war if Germany decided not to leave. I'm not gonna do like the full peace treaty, but this is probably what it would look like with Germany getting a lot more land. Meanwhile, Poland probably being like a decent chunk giving to um, Germany, while the rest, well, another big chunk probably goes over to um, Czechia. Slovakia goes over to Czechia, and a decent sized bite goes to Russia. Meanwhile, Romania probably just gets a little piece bitten out of it by Russia. And then I can see Hungary taking this part, with Hungary deciding to like give its faith to Russia. Um, Turkey ends up losing this part to Russia. Meanwhile, the rest of it goes to Russia as well. Iran loses this land. Gains that land. Meanwhile, Pakistan gains all of the land that they conquered from India. There probably would end up just being a border divided like right here between China and Pakistan. Pakistan gets the rest. Meanwhile, China probably gets all of this. Over here in Korea, uh, surprisingly, South Korea is still existing, but it's more of a West Korea. Meanwhile, Japan just gets split into two, Northern Japan and South Japan. Taiwan gets annexed by China, and really that's what the peace treaty would probably end up looking like, with the rest of the countries just becoming a puppet and having to pay a very mass war reparation to Russia. Oh yeah, Finland will also probably become Russia's. So that is what I believe would happen. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed making. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know I enjoyed making for you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. Bye.